Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Marius, and this episode I sit down with Bill to explore psychotherapy, family constellation, and the deeper question of identity and healing, maybe. So, Bill, welcome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here.
Like you ask often, who you are without your story. So, I would like to turn that question to you.
Well, it's something I've been thinking about for a long time, especially with the constellation work. The idea came, I think, when, you do this work, we let go of entanglements with our family. We're able to sort of release the grief that belonged to our mother that we were carrying, maybe because she lost her mother when she was 5 years old. Or we come out of a chaotic family, and because of the chaos or maybe the trauma, we create stories. I mean, we're humans and we're meaning makers, but in the context of a family, we create a story in order to survive. And that's specifically true of trauma. And sometimes the story, usually they're not real. Like if dad left me when I was 5, this is one example. I have to create a story to understand I was a bad boy. I did something wrong, not knowing the depth of or the complexity of a relationship, why he left my mother or anything. Or there's other trauma that's happened, and in order to survive or to make sense of it, I create a story. So the question I would ask is, when we've released some of this through constellation work, I can put down some of the pain or face the shame or even the anger, and I can breathe through it and relax it. Then what's left? Who am I now? And sometimes because of our situation, we take on a role, right? We take on an identity. I'm the only one that can help my mother, or I'm the only one who can, take care of this, which is not true on some level. And then we come to a realization like, okay, if I put this role down, then who am I? I usually use the metaphor in all my trainings and workshops about constellation work. Constellation, imagine you do this deep work in constellations and you unentangle from some of the pain, some of the generational trauma, some of the patterns that have been in there. So imagine it takes you to the edge of a river, right? And there's a bridge across the river. And the invitation is to cross over to the other side. But we hesitate because we don't know what's on the other side. It's the unknown. And maybe we step onto the bridge, and maybe we spend another year or 2 on the bridge. But that's how I view the work, because on the other side there's some form of freedom. And we let go of the role we've taken on. And sometimes we had to take that role on to survive, to find love, to be cared for. So I thought of that. Well, who would I be without that? And who am I without that? In my being, who am I? And I've developed a workshop over that. But we create stories. That's what we do as humans. We create stories. But what I found, Marius, is the story feels real, but it's not true. And I'm not talking about stories of how your parents met and, how your grandparents met, during the war, maybe they met or something. And those are romantic stories. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about identity stories. They feel real. Because the first thing we usually connect with is a story. This happened to me. The only thing that's true is the event. It doesn't minimize the pain we went through, but the story isn't true. It's not true.
Yeah, so in
The only
some
thing
way,
true is the fact. This happened. This is when it happened. Everything else was necessary in order to make sense, in order to survive, perhaps.
yes, in some way we change the narrative, of course, maybe to survive if someone are in surviving mode. And it's not easy maybe to be open directly and to see the story, how is it. But what is the difference, do you notice, between psychotherapy and family constellation work?
Well, I was originally trained as a therapist and a systemic therapist too. So I've been dealing with systems, family and couples. Part of my original training, I had to learn how to do a genogram, which is a map of your family, multi-generational, looking at patterns. So that all felt very natural when I moved into family constellations. I think traditional psychotherapy, you develop a relationship with a therapist. And on some level, in that relationship, you have someone who will see you, will hear you with no judgment. And perhaps that's what we were looking for when we were growing up, to be seen, to be heard, to be held, no judgment, just, processing my pain. With some, probably in psychotherapy, there might be homework, there might be interventions, there might be challenging to your thinking, but it's usually developed over time. You see somebody every week. And some, not for nothing, I think, depending on what's happened to us, like if there's been a lot of really severe trauma, I think the slow process of psychotherapy, building a relationship, building a safe environment, can be very, very helpful. Constellations, on the other side, traditionally, it's not therapy because you come to a workshop or you go to a retreat and you're dealing with very powerful. Well, the field opens up, right? You're dealing with very powerful energy that can reveal something almost immediately and have a significant impact, not only on the client, but on the group, anyone who attends, witnessing, even the people who represent family members in the client's family. I don't know if that's the best explanation, but it's the best I can offer right now.
Is the right one we must receive right now, maybe? So it's okay, I guess. You mentioned to the relationship mother and father and all of this family system, right? Because there is a lot of dynamics and many people maybe try to understand better, the relationship what they have with the mother and father. So how important is the relationship with mother and father in adult life?
Well, in adult life, that's interesting. I think the imprint happens early on, depending. One thing I want to say about that is I also do another sort of focus workshop on making peace with your parents. Our parents are flawed people. They download, I use the computer term, they download whatever they downloaded from their parents, from their culture, rules, regulations, conditioning, trauma, whatever was impacting the family internally and externally, and that gets usually passed down. And in some of the parenting, the children who want to be seen, who want to be taken care of, who want to be loved, they get bypassed for whatever reason. And that, and then if you add on top of that, if there's brutality or alcoholism or physical or sexual abuse, it just adds another layer of pain. And it can be very difficult to make peace with how you grew up because we still carry that pain within us. So it's in an adult relationship, my parents are both gone, but, you know, there's one thing if your father now is 90 and he's maybe forgets, doesn't have a good memory, and he seems like a very pleasant man, and I'm an adult, and you can say, okay, he's nice, and maybe this is the dad I wish I had when I was 8 or 9. And so it's a little bit different when I work with people. The focus is not what you're doing with your parents now, less you're helping them get to medical appointments, you're helping them, but maybe there's a part of you, a younger part of you that still wishes they had different parents. And that gets into the relationship even in the present day. So we do all this work. We go to constellations, or maybe we do spiritual work, or we go to ashrams, or we do some psychedelic work, and just to relieve this pain. And we realize my dad's never going to change. And this is what I tell people, that you're never going to have different parents. Your father now at 90 is forgetful and he seems very kind and stuff. But the parent you wanted when you were 8, it's never going to happen. And I have to tell you, there's so many people I work with that are still wishing that was the case. So you do all this work and you go home for a holiday with the expectation that dad will be different. It's not going to happen. Your reaction to dad may be different, but dad will never, he's not going to be different. And I'll just say this, I think this is the meaning of suffering for me. Whatever pain we endured as a child, it's over. And maybe we need to take time to really release the pain, whatever process we go through, whether it's constellations or somatic work or, like I said, spiritual work. The real suffering is the wish that it could be different. I know people whose parents are dead for 20 years and they still wish they had different parents. That's suffering to me. That's what suffering is. Or I wish this event didn't happen to me. Same.
Yeah, and maybe like this we can lose ourselves in the middle of that bridge what you described in the beginning. So it's very tricky, and we must have maybe courage to look to our story family, right? And now, Bill, I want to ask you about a topic what I see in this period of time. Many people they try in some way to save or fix their parents, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what happening when they take the position of parents, or they maybe it's healthy to stay a little bit back in this kind of relationship?
Yeah. Well, it's impossible. It's impossible. You can't do it. And I think when you take the position that I'm going to fix my parents, you're in the middle of judgment. You're judging them that they need to be fixed. And you stand, Bert would say, you stand taller than your parents. You become the bigger one. But as long as you're in that, I just look at it this way: as long as you're in that field of judgment, you're suffering. You may not know you're suffering, but you are. And it's impossible. You can't fix your parents. So you've made a decision that this piece I need to take care of so I can feel better. And the reality, the smack in the face, is that it's not going to happen. You can't fix your parents, nor could they have fixed their parents. But I have to tell you, Marius, I know people who spend decades trying to do that. And if it doesn't work, then, and they could have what looks like from the outside a very, nice life, but they're still caught up in that childhood wish that I'm going to do this. I'm going to fix my parents. It's just not going to happen. I don't know what else to say. And
Yeah. So
yeah.
can maybe we can say maturity mean accepting that we cannot change our parents. Mm.
Or you can't. Yeah. Yeah. And that can take some time. That's where we go into therapy. We go into therapy that maybe to heal from the wounds that were inflicted upon us, or not being seen. I wish my mother gave me more. She gave more to my brother, or my dad, didn't pay any attention to me. That's usually why we go into therapy, or we find constellation work. But ultimately, when you start to go underneath those layers, it's an acceptance of this is how it is. This is how it was. And it's not going to change. And I think that can be very difficult for people. It can be very difficult, even painful. But there's something on the other side of that when you can say, this is who my dad is, and that's the dad I got. And I can cry it out. I can take a deep breath. But there's something shifts inside someone when they realize, and it'll never be different. I can let go of that wish. It's almost a kind of freedom in a way. Like I've spent all my adult life trying to change this, and God, all that energy I've spent.
Mm.
Pass to the bridge. Yeah. I mean, it's leaving something, accepting this is how it is. And you don't have to like it. You might have a preference to wish that it was still different. But the energy that goes into trying to make the past different, it's exhausting. There's a great quote by an American writer I often read in my workshop. He's Augustine Burroughs. He said, "The past doesn't haunt us. We haunt the past." And it's the same in the family system. We're going back and say, if only my father, if only dad, if only he did this, if only he did that. And think about how much energy that takes up
A lot
for
of
you.
energy.
A lot of energy, a lot. And maybe, maybe things were really horrible and really painful that we can't be around. Let's say our parents are alive. We can't be around them. And that's okay. But it's not the same as wishing. The hurt is so present. I just can't be around my parent, or my dad is an alcoholic and he continues to drink. I can't be around that. That's okay. But deep down inside, you've let go of any wish that it'll be different. And that's what frees you on some level. And it can take time to do that. And it can be painful as you get to the bridge, to use my metaphor, before you cross over.
Yeah, Bill. If the listeners they will like to come in contact with you, what is the right channel for you?
The best way is to get a hold of me through my website. There's a contact window, and people can send me an email. Sure. That's the best way.
Best channel, right?
It's the best channel because then it shows up immediately on my email, and I would whatever they're interested in, I'll get a message, I'll get an email, and I can follow up.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So,
Yeah.
Bill, now if you have a message for the world, what will be?
God, a message for the world? Boy, that's a big one. That's a big one. Well, the biggest thing right now is just to be kind. Just to be kind. To yourself. Really be kind to yourself, and then be kind to everybody around you. It doesn't mean you're not gonna disagree. It doesn't mean you're not gonna be irritated, but really find a way to be kind. And I say this because this hasn't been easy, but I think, that would be my message. Be kind.
So, kindness always it's modern, maybe.
Kindness is, it's a practice. It really is a practice. It's saying hello to your neighbor. It's wishing your wife a good morning, saying hi to everybody. Hey, good morning. What's your kids? What's your plan for the day? It's kind of in how we speak and move physically. Even if you need to, you need to give somebody some information or some feedback. Would you mind doing this? Or next time you do this, would it be, could you please do it this way? Or could you try doing it that way? Usually that is a little more opening and there's a little more connection versus, you getting mad and, you know, saying something you'll regret later. But even if you're going out to the grocery store, food shopping, you just say hi. Okay, see, thank you. No, you go first. It's a practice. It really is. Because we get so caught up in our little individual lives. I got to get here. I got to get home. I got to do this. And what I find, if you, when I'm just going for a walk and it's a nice day, or I travel a lot. So if I'm in the airport, I just smile at people, and you'd be surprised the response you get. Even if you're just passing them, you just have a smile on your face. Something changes in them.
Yeah, so after all your years of experience, what still humbles you to do this work?
Oh God, humbling. Shoot. Well, what humbles me is when I can witness, and I get emotional. Can I tell you a story really quickly? Okay, so this is what humbles me. Sometimes the work happens so quickly and goes to such a deep level, and connections are starting to be repaired. That humbles me. That has nothing to do with me. I mean, I take a step back. So I'll tell you this story really quickly. I'll save some of this very colorful story. I used to do this work with teenagers and who were struggling with addiction and mental health from 13 to 18. And there was this one boy, Michael, who was in some hyperactivity, ADHD, and he was adopted. And he wanted to do a constellation. And I said, okay, we'll do a constellation. And twice a week, I would go into his group, or the kids group, teenagers group. I was at some clinical agency, and every week new kids would come in, and there was a new young woman in the room. She was 15. She didn't want to be there. She was mad at her mother, same things, 15 years old. So I said to Michael, okay, this is your time. What's your question? I would like to know why my mother gave me away. And I said, all right. And I think the backstory is mom was 15 or 16, got pregnant, and her parents didn't want her to keep the baby. So the baby went up, Michael went up for adoption. So I said, all right, let's just start there. Pick someone to represent your mother. Now, he picks this woman, her name is Gloria, the young girl, 15. They're both 15. Would you represent my mother? And she said, I don't care, sure. Now, I didn't explain anything to her about constellation work, nothing. I said, you just stand here. I said, I'll ask you some questions and just report what's happening in your body, whatever feelings are happening. So she said, okay. So he looks at her and I said, what's your question? He looks at her and goes, Mom, why did you give me away? Well, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's a big question. I looked at this young woman, Marius, all the blood drained from her face, and she started shaking. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. This young girl's going to pass out. I'm getting nervous. And I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, take a breath. And I said, Michael, ask your question again. Mom, why did you give me away? Now her lips are quivering and tears are running just gently down her face. And I said, it looks like you want to respond. Just say what comes. She looks at him and said, God, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I wanted you to live. That was it. I had to take a step out of the circle. I had goosebumps. I looked around. Everybody had tears in their eyes. I was close to crying. I'm getting emotional now as we're talking about it. And I look at Michael, he has a smile on his face. I said, Mike, are you okay? He goes, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. And I said, okay, everybody take a deep breath. I needed to take a deep breath and have a seat. And we went around the room. Everybody was, oh my God, Mike, that was beautiful, blah, 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 blah. And we came to the end of the circle. Marius, that was less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. And this girl knew nothing. Something, I would say, miraculous took place. And I tell that story everywhere I go. It's a little more colorful than that because this girl used to like to swear a lot, use very strong language. And so she used a little bit before she started, which made it a little funnier. But that humbles me. That humbles me. That kind of connection that all of a sudden, had been broken. And this young boy wanted to know why he was, put out into the world. And for her, that response, I don't know where it came from. It downloaded from the field.
Yeah, he speak through her. Maybe sometime the information is downloading, just is happening. But for
So
the
when that
listeners,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, it's not too sorry here. It's just a conversation, Yeah, but for the listeners, maybe if they try to come in contact and just to be present in one session will be amazing. Will be a good experience, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
very
didn't know
deep.
I didn't know I
What you
was
say?
gonna I didn't know I was gonna share that story, but I always get emotional when I tell it because talk about humbling. I feel like, okay, something bigger is happening here that has nothing to do with me or, I'm just master of ceremonies, but it really had nothing to do with me. It's just like, phew. And there's been other moments like that too.
Of course.
Yeah.
And this can drive you through and to stay connected to the field and work with this what you do very well.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So Bill, we can heal people in some way. We have this power.
Well, now we're getting into a little more. See, people refer to me sometimes as a healer. I don't take on that thing. The only, and I know I get a little wary of that word or heal because the only thing if I was working with you, you're the only one who knows what you need. My role, whether you come as a psychotherapy client or as a workshop, is to be a guide. I can point things out. I can offer some things. The healing takes place within you. So I don't usually use the word healer or heal, but I mean, since it's in the lexicon, it's out there. How do people heal? In so many different ways, but it's like the doctor offers the medicine. "Oh, here's what I find to work." You have to decide if you're gonna use it or take it. Yeah, and you're the one who I really believe it. You know how to heal. Maybe there's stuff that's blocking that. Maybe there's fear, maybe there's anger, maybe there's pain, but you on some intuitive level know what you need to get to the river, to cross over the bridge.
On the bridge.
On the bridge. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so we can say we create just the condition and the space. That's it,
yeah,
maybe.
here's a condition, the space. Here's what I have to offer. You can give it a shot, but how you take it in, how it works in you. And there's a lot of stories when I was training in constellation work that, Bert says we only need one or two constellations. Okay, no. And sometimes people will come and they'll witness a very cathartic, a lot of emotion and stuff. And I've come to that can be very touching and moving, but doesn't necessarily last. And I've had people who come to a constellation and maybe they witness yours, and I want a constellation like Marius, but they have a constellation and there's no emotional, turmoil. There's no crying. But 6 months later, something shifts. I was going for a walk in the park, and all of a sudden, I felt this deep love for my father. I don't know where it came from. That's the beauty of this work. That's the beauty. And
Yes, of
that's why I
course.
think Bert said, you only need one or two because they'll go really deep. And then in that moment, you may have a release. You may be crying, there may be hugging, but it's really how it percolates, how it moves in you over the course of time. I trust that.
It's simple because when we start maybe to understand and accept, they give us the best gift, right? Life.
Life.
And there is change everything, because it's like, wow, I have this experience called life from these two person called my parents. So that's fantastic. I mean, wow, I can enjoy this. But it's a path, of course, individual path for everyone to start to accept. And yeah, in the same way, it's very nice you pick up Bert Hellinger, the father, well known of family constellation, if I can say so. So I would like to ask a curiosity. Sometime, if Bert Hellinger would be here in this conversation, what do you think he will say?
Well, that's interesting. I've only read Bert. I had the privilege of actually seeing him work once when I was training at the International Workshop for Systemic Resolutions in the early 2000s in southern Germany. He came for a day. I don't know what he would say. You know, he may add something new. He may challenge where I've taken the work. I mean, I like what I really liked about Bert was sometimes his simplicity. I mean, I know in the old days, a lot of the work was big, the constellations were big, but when I witnessed him work, the work was very simple, powerful, but very simple. So I would hope that we could agree on that, the work can be simple. Simple in a that can be a interesting word. Simple meaning it can be small, doesn't have to be big. Yeah.
Right. Like a motto, make it simple.
Make it simple. I mean, and I tend to the people come to my work, that's what part of it is I think our own physiology and things like I tend to go right to the heart of the matter. What is it you need? What is it right now? What's your question right now? And and then we'll bring in this, we'll bring in this, we'll bring in that. Or maybe we'll just bring in this and see. That's how I tend to work. So what does Marius need at this moment?
And Marius need a lot of different things. It's not about Marius.
I know I meant that in a general sense, but that's usually, that's
Yeah,
you're a
it's just
client in a workshop. I would say, What is it? What would you like to leave here with today? That's all.
Another topic what I speak with all of the masters, if I can say so, well known like you and like another people who will enjoy and this podcast, how we can invite next generation in this field.
Well, I think it's already happening. I mean, it's so interesting. All of a sudden I'm here, right? I've been doing constellations for over 23, 24 years, and I'm in this position, and people are looking up to me, and I'm thinking, okay, so there's a little bit of that responsibility of, there's so many people now, Mars, I don't recognize any of their names. I think it's just to support their work. If people are getting out there, be open to, and I do this with my students, be open to answer any questions, to be available. Um, if they want to do some more personal work. But really, I think with all social media now, usually when I see someone I don't know, I'll click a like or heart it or something like, okay, you're out there doing the work. And they may look at me, oh, this is coming from Bill. This is great. Just to support the work. You're doing the work. You're stepping into it. Keep going. Keep going.
Fantastic, Bill. I would like to thank you very much for all the insights what you give me and what I understand this evening. So thank you very much to take your time again and to be present here.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm very, very honored. Thank you.
My name is Marius, and thank you for listening.